Under the glare of studio lights and a bold Venezuelan flag backdrop, President Nicolás Maduro speaks directly to the nation, his tone defiant, his words aimed not only at his citizens, but at Washington. All the military forces in the world know the power of the Igla-S, he declares, his voice measured yet forceful, and Venezuela has no fewer than 5,000 Igla-S in key anti-aircraft defense positions to guarantee what? Peace. His statement, broadcast live on state television VTV, immediately ripples across international headlines. The number, 5,000 Russian-made man-portable surface-to-air missiles, is staggering. The Igla-S, also known by NATO as the SA-24 Grinch, is one of Russia's most effective shoulder-fired anti-aircraft systems. Capable of striking aircraft at low altitudes, it is designed to counter helicopters, drones, and even slow-flying jets. By publicly declaring the size of this arsenal, Maduro has sent a deliberate signal. Venezuela is prepared, and it is watching. The timing is no accident. In recent weeks, the United States has expanded its naval and air presence in the Caribbean, conducting exercises with regional allies and deploying reconnaissance aircraft closer to Venezuelan waters. Washington describes the operations as routine security missions, but Caracas sees them differently, as provocations and threats to its sovereignty. Maduro, a former bus driver turned socialist strongman, has long framed such deployments as part of a US campaign to destabilize his government and seize control of the country's vast oil reserves. By invoking the Igla-S, Maduro taps into a powerful narrative that blends nationalism, defiance, and a claim to peace through strength. The missiles, he insists, are to guarantee peace, not war, a statement that echoes Cold War logic, deterrence as defense. But his definition of peace carries a distinctly Venezuelan flavor, one shaped by years of sanctions, international isolation, and internal political struggle. For Venezuela's armed forces, the Igla-S is more than a weapon. It's a symbol of the enduring military partnership with Russia. Over the past 2 decades, Moscow has supplied Caracas with tanks, fighter jets, and missile systems, effectively turning Venezuela into Russia's closest strategic ally in the Western Hemisphere. Analysts note that the 5,000 missiles Maduro referenced could be part of a stockpile built up since the early 2000s, when Hugo Chavez first began purchasing Russian arms to counter what he called imperialist aggression. Today, Maduro follows that same playbook. The declaration of his country's anti-aircraft capacity comes as relations between Washington and Caracas reach new lows. US sanctions remain in place, Venezuelan oil exports are still restricted, and political negotiations with the opposition have once again stalled. Against that backdrop, Maduro's words serve a dual purpose: to project military strength abroad and to rally nationalist sentiment at home. Inside Venezuela, the broadcast plays to a divided audience. Supporters of Maduro's government applaud the show of resolve, calling it a necessary response to US pressure. On the streets of Caracas, state television replays the clip repeatedly, framing it as proof that Venezuela will not be intimidated. Meanwhile, critics, both domestic and international, view the statement as a dangerous provocation. Opposition figures accuse Maduro of using militaristic rhetoric to distract from the country's deepening economic woes: inflation that remains among the highest in the world, food shortages, and a mass exodus of citizens seeking better lives abroad. To understand the weight of Maduro's declaration, one must recall Venezuela's long-standing doctrine of integral defense. This doctrine envisions the entire population as part of the defense apparatus, civilians, militias, and the formal armed forces acting in unison to protect the revolution. The 5,000 Igla-S missiles fit neatly within that framework, serving as a deterrent against what the government portrays as external imperial threats. For military observers, the Igla-S system itself is a formidable weapon. Manufactured by Russia's KBM Design Bureau, it is a shoulder-launched, heat-seeking missile with a range of up to 6 kilometers. It can be deployed by a single soldier, requiring minimal setup time, and can strike targets moving at speeds of up to 400 meters per second. In asymmetric warfare scenarios, such weapons can level the playing field, allowing small units to threaten aircraft from hidden positions in jungles, mountains, or urban areas. In the Venezuelan context, however, such firepower is not only a technical matter, but a political statement. It reinforces the image of a nation encircled, yet unbowed, a message Maduro has delivered repeatedly in speeches marking the anniversaries of independence and the Bolivarian Revolution. Venezuela does not threaten anyone, he has said in the past, but no one should dare to threaten Venezuela. The announcement also underscores Moscow's continued influence in Latin America. While Russia's attention remains largely fixed on its confrontation with the West in Europe, its military and diplomatic ties with Caracas endure. Russian technicians, advisors and trainers have periodically visited Venezuelan bases, and Russian transport aircraft have been spotted delivering spare parts and maintenance equipment. For the Kremlin, Venezuela offers both a foothold in the Americas and a partner eager to defy US dominance. In Washington, Maduro's remarks are likely to raise alarms within defense and intelligence circles. The US Southern Command, responsible for operations in Latin America, has long tracked Venezuela's military inventory. The prospect of thousands of advanced shoulder-fired missiles in the hands of a government with frayed relations with the West presents a potential security concern, particularly if such weapons were to leak into the black market or reach non-state actors. Regional neighbours, too, are watching closely. Colombia, Guyana and Brazil all share borders with Venezuela, and each has experienced strains over territorial disputes and migration pressures. Maduro's public assertion of military might could further complicate those relationships. Colombian analysts recall how, just months earlier, joint Venezuelan military exercises were held near the border, drills that included missile-carrying units and air defence simulations. Despite the tension, Maduro continues to portray his government as a guardian of peace. The use of the word peace in his statement was deliberate, repeated and emphasized. To guarantee what, he asked rhetorically, peace. That single word forms the moral anchor of his message, suggesting that Venezuela's military buildup is not about aggression, but preservation. Yet for many observers, it's a precarious peace, one maintained through deterrence and defiance rather than diplomacy. The broadcast cuts to images of soldiers standing at attention, Igla-S launchers slung across their shoulders, framed by the Venezuelan tricolour. The symbolism is clear, a nation under siege, united in defence. But behind the images lies a complex reality. The Venezuelan military, though loyal, faces its own challenges: outdated equipment, limited spare parts, and the lingering effects of years of economic collapse. Even so, Maduro's strategy relies heavily on the perception of readiness rather than the actual readiness itself. In that sense, the 5,000 missiles are as much political theatre as military asset. Their mention serves to remind both allies and adversaries that Venezuela remains a player in the geopolitical chessboard, one backed, at least symbolically, by Russia's shadow. For Maduro, it's a message of resilience. Despite sanctions, despite isolation, Venezuela is armed, alert and unwilling to yield. As the broadcast concludes, Maduro's tone softens slightly. He speaks of peace, of dignity, of a country that wants to live without threats or intervention. Yet his earlier words linger. The image of thousands of missiles hidden across Venezuelan territory, ready if needed. It's both a warning and a statement of identity, a small nation standing firm against a superpower's gaze. In the days following the announcement, analysts debate whether Maduro's figure of 5,000 missiles is literal or exaggerated. Some military experts suggest the real number could be lower, pointing out that maintaining such a large arsenal would require significant logistical support and resources. Others argue that the number matters less than the message, that Maduro's goal was not to reveal classified data, but to project strength and deterrence. For the Venezuelan public, the announcement becomes another chapter in the ongoing story of resistance. In pro-government rallies, banners proclaim peace through strength and Venezuela will never surrender. In opposition circles, the talk is of priorities. Why missiles, they ask, when hospitals lack medicine and schools lack power? The story echoes far beyond Venezuela's borders. In Moscow, Russian state media highlight Maduro's statement as proof of enduring friendship between the two nations. In Washington, it is cited as justification for keeping sanctions in place. Across Latin America, it deepens the ideological divide between leftist governments sympathetic to Caracas and those aligned with Washington's policies. Ultimately, Maduro's declaration is less about numbers and more about narrative, a story of defiance wrapped in the language of peace. To guarantee what? Peace, he said, turning a line about missiles into a slogan of sovereignty. Whether that peace holds will depend not on the Igla-S launchers stationed in Venezuela's hills, but on the fragile balance between deterrence and diplomacy in a region that has seen too much of both. As dusk falls over Caracas, the presidential broadcast replays once again on state television. The same words, the same images looping endlessly across the screen. To supporters, it is reassurance. To critics, it is propaganda. But to all, it is unmistakably clear. Nicolás Maduro wants the world to know that Venezuela, in his words, guarantees peace, come out by any means necessary.